Hello, I'm Kellen Fleming, the curator and owner of Catering Productions on YouTube. I've been working on a passion project for the last 5 years, and that project is filming locations of the movie Days of Thunder. And of course, living in Daytona and knowing the town in and out, there's no better tour guide than myself. I'm going to take you to places where a lot of important key moments in the movie happen, such as the wheelchair race, pullover spot where the cop frisked Cole Trickle. Furthermore, let's start off where they started the first scene at Daytona International Speedway. If you follow my channel a lot, this is pretty much a second home for me, so let's get started. Now, when you speak of Daytona, you have to talk about NASCAR. When you talk about NASCAR, you have to talk about Daytona. If it wasn't for NASCAR, Bike Week, and Spring Break, I don't think Daytona would be the world's famous beach that you know today. Being a movie about NASCAR and located in Daytona, the most obvious place to start this video off is Daytona International Speedway. Not because the movie starts here, but a lot of the significant events in the movie happened here, or at least appears that way. While making movies, there's kind of a blueprint on how the story is told that's called the Freytag's Pyramid. In this movie, each end of the pyramid's action takes place in Daytona, the exposition. Now, according to the movie's timeline, it would be the 1989 Daytona 500, which the audience gets hyped up for watching the movie about racing and learns who the antagonist of the movie is right off the bat, Rowdy Burns. Now, during filming, Paramount actually used cars built by Hendrick Motorsports and raced the first 100 miles of the 1990 Daytona 500.
Leader Dale Earnhardt is coming up on the movie cars, and there we go. He's in the film Days of Thunder.
The climax, movie timeline, 1989 Firecracker 400. Cole Trickle races hard with Rowdy Burns, which leads to a big wreck in which Rowdy Burns spins out and Cole Trickle, right up and through the smoke, T-bones Rowdy and gets airborne, which leads to him barrel rolling many times and leads to Cole and Rowdy getting transported to a local hospital. The resolution, movie timeline, 1990 Daytona 500. Cole Trickle agrees to race Rowdy Burns' car in the Daytona 500 as a favor to his sponsors and for Rowdy, in which during the race Cole is racing hard with Russ Wheeler and eventually outsmarts Wheeler and takes home the win. This portion of the movie was reshot at the last minute due to the film crew failing to capture Cole Trickle passing under the checker flag, recreate the atmosphere of the Daytona 500 in late March into April 1990. Now fast forward, Daytona is far different from what it was in 1990. The infield is completely different, starting in 2004 with a fan zone constructed in place of where the old NASCAR Cup garages used to be. The whole track was completely repaved in July of 2010 and completed in December of 2010. Finally, the front grandstands were upgraded and improved, and the backstretch seating was completely removed, which was part of the $400 million 2.5-year Daytona Rising project. NASCAR still races here at Daytona International Speedway, with their biggest race on the schedule, the Daytona 500, which happens around President's Day holiday each February since 1959. There used to be a summer race here that happened around July 4th, which was known as the Firecracker 400, but that race has been moved to the last weekend in August, which is the last race of the regular season, now known as the Coke Zero 400. The most famous film location of Days of Thunder is the barn, which has been featured and talked about many times across social media. The exterior of the barn was featured many times in this movie, but the film crew did use the interior for some shots. Especially when Harry is painting the tractor and him and Cole go running down the ramps, you can actually see the top of the Pontiac Aero Coupe race car that was seen earlier in the movie. The car building scene was actually filmed at the barn on the right side of the storage area thanks to fellow YouTuber and Days of Thunder fanatic Cruisers Motorsports, so definitely give him a follow and setting the facts straight on this filming location. The reason the barn was used in the movie, according to the New York Times, was Rick Hendrick actually owned the property that the barn was on. I visited the Days of Thunder barn during the summer of 2022 when I was on vacation.
This is the famous barn from Days of Thunder, which is located in Mooresville, North Carolina. As you can see, this is not on a actual farm itself. This is actually in town in Mooresville. As you can see in the film, there was cars over here like a Grand Prix Aero Coupe in the corner. And there's a ramp that was here where the parent shop was.
As for the farmhouse, I'm convinced that they were never on the same property, just edited that way in the movie. I couldn't find any info online about the farmhouse, but it does look more as if it was located in North Carolina compared to Florida. Charlotte Motor Speedway was used for 2 scenes. The first one is where the audience gets introduced to Cole Trickle and his driving talent is immediately tested around the 1.5-mile track, driving the soon-to-be nemesis Rowdy Burns' number 51 Exxon Chevy Lumina. The second scene is a lot further in the movie, is when Cole and Claire return to Charlotte and talks to a guy out front and enters what is supposed to be the infield care center at Charlotte. This is also the beginning of the makeout scene, which was filmed in the offices/suite at Charlotte, which the rest of the scene was filmed in Daytona. More on that later. Charlotte is still on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule with 2 races. The Memorial Day Weekend Classic, the Coca-Cola 600, and 400-kilometer infield road course race known as the Roval, which replaced the 500-mile fall oval race in 2018. Phoenix International Raceway was chosen to be the debut race of Cole Trickle and the number 46 City Chevrolet team. Cole eventually had his first run-in with Rowdy Burns at this track. Also, this track was a lot of B-roll used for other tracks in the movie, which we will touch on later. Phoenix Raceway, which is now called, went through major transformations over the years since the filming of the movie. Track renovation in 2011, which removed the infield road course and moved the turn 2 wall out further to give more racing area. In 2017, the Phoenix project was announced, which added a new main grandstand, extended pit road, and new infield garages. In 2019, the start-finish line was moved to what was known as the middle of turn 2, so it would be right in the middle of the new main grandstand. The track is still used by the NASCAR Cup Series with 2 races, one in March and hosting the championship season finale since 2020. Bristol Motor Speedway is the only night race in the movie, and as you can see, Cole is still struggling. And of course, Cole gets into another accident and spins and hits the wall. Then after the race, you see a frustrated pit crew on pit road. Bristol is unrecognizable compared to what it was when the movie was filmed there in 1990. More seats and suites have been added over the years, which completely enclosed the entire track to give it this Coliseum look and feel. In 2007, the track was completely resurfaced and reshaped. The quarter banking went from 26 degrees to a more of what is now known as progressive banking, which means the turn banks go from 24 to 30 degrees depending on what driving line you take in the corner. The NASCAR Cup Series still races here, Spring 500-mile race, and of course the famous Fall Bristol Night Race. Dover Down Speedway is one of those locations in the movie that wasn't actually used in the movie. It was just used as a track name. The film crew actually used B-roll from other tracks to complete the scene. The scene in question is the pit road wreck scene when Cole Trickle hits the pit wall so hard that it knocked Mark Martin's car off the jack, while the pit crew members were actually jumping back over the wall to save themselves. As you can see in the other Darlington scenes, you can actually match this scene with those scenes, and all they did was change the lettering on the wall on the racetrack from Darlington to Dover just to save time and money from the film crew from just going to this one track just to film this scene. Rockingham was used in the making of the movie, but a lot of the racing B-roll scenes was cut between Daytona and Phoenix. The most famous scene during the Rockingham portion was the ice cream scene where Cole Trickle drives down pit road and jumps out chasing Harry. This scene was actually filmed in Daytona and Phoenix, not Rockingham. Now known as Rockingham Speedway, is currently getting updated and repaved and lights added thanks to North Carolina budget, which allotted 3 North Carolina tracks $40 million. Rockingham received $9 million of the $40 million. The last NASCAR Cup Series race at Rockingham was in February 2004 and ended in a photo finish between Matt Kenseth and then rookie Casey Kane.
Side by side of the line, Kenseth! Told you it'd be a Moco finish. Matt Kenseth wins the Subway 400, his 8th career win.
The race shop interiors were filmed at Hendrick Motorsports, and what was known as Hendrick Sportswear at the time. You can actually see in this older picture of the Hendrick Motorsports campus that building number 5 was used for the filming. Now this building is home to Hendrick Motorsports Chassis Shop. Thanks to the admin of Remembering Ricky Hendrick Facebook page for confirming this info. Without Rick Hendrick and his mutual friendship of Tom Cruise through Paul Newman, there's a good chance this movie wouldn't have been made in the first place. Hendrick Motorsports built all the film-used race cars used in this movie. Randy Quaid's character, car owner/car salesman Tim DeLand, was based on Rick Hendrick, who owns the actual City Chevrolet dealership in Charlotte, which sponsored Cole Trickle early in his career in this movie. Windows bar interior shots were used for the bar scene between Cole Trickle and his veteran crew chief Harry Hogg. Harry is trying to learn about Cole's racing history and early life, which leads to Cole admitting he doesn't know much about cars or how to set up a race car. Windows bar burned down in March 2001. The only visible portion is the brick outline in the pavement. I also recorded a video here back in 2019, which you can see this very closely, but since this video has been made, there has been a gate put up on this property, which makes it very difficult to see. Also, this bar's location is not in the safest part of Ridgewood Avenue in Daytona Beach. The scene starts with the number 46 City Chevrolet team testing at Volusia as Harry tries to teach Cole about how to conserve tires over a typical pit window. So Harry comes up with a bet that Cole can run 30 laps his way and then put on new tires and race 30 laps Harry's way. In the end, Harry wins the bet and Cole must pay for lunch. Volusia County Speedway Park opened in 1968 as a half-mile dirt oval. The track changed owners and became a paved oval in 1989. The NASCAR Busch Series, now Xfinity Series, ran 4 races here from 1989 to 1992, and then one of the former owners repurchased the track in 1997 and converted it back to dirt, which has remained ever since. This track is a must-attend event during Daytona Speed Weeks every year to catch the opening races of the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars and Late Models, which is known as the Dirt Car Nationals. Darlington Raceway played a critical role for Cole Trickle. He learned how to manage his tires under real-time race conditions, which led to his tires not falling off as much as the rest of the field. Also, Cole had to learn how to overcome adversity because of a bad pit stop, which he came out third instead of first. With Harry telling Cole to pass on the outside of turn 4 with those special matched tires, Cole wins his very first NASCAR Cup race ever at Darlington over Rowdy Burns. In Victory Lane, Cole finds out there was nothing really special about those tires. Harry just used it as a confidence builder for Cole. Darlington Raceway is still used by NASCAR, highly looked at as stock car racing's Wrigley Field or Lambeau Field, the first paid super speedway on the NASCAR schedule back in 1950. The track has been repaid twice since the movie was filmed there in 1990. First in 1995 and then again in 2008. In 1997, Darlington moved the start-finish line to what was in the middle of the backstretch. The lights were added to the track in 2004. The NASCAR Cup Series has 2 traditional races here: the NASCAR Throwback Weekend Spring 400-mile race and the Labor Day Weekend Classic Southern 500. As the team is returning back from Darlington from their first win, drinking peach and cherry moonshine in the back of the team transporter, and all of a sudden the truck driver sees cops behind them. Once the team pulls over at this big oak tree on the side of Highway 40, the male officer orders everybody out of the trailer and standing up against the wall. As Cole exits the transport, he is pushed up against the wall by the female officer. Cole is then searched by the female officer, which claimed that Cole had a concealed weapon on him. As soon as the male officer finds out about this, he asks where, and she says right here as she's pointing to Cole Trickle's scrotum. Then immediately Cole gets turned around, female police officer opens up her uniform, exposing her breasts, and then comes clean as to that she's not a real police officer and she was hired by Harry to get real ornery with him, as they say in the movie. This whole area looks exactly the same as it did in 1990. The tree is still here, just a lot more growth. This tree is located in Astor, Florida, which is right on the line between Lake County and Volusia County. Once you cross over the bridge in the background, you're in Lake County. And it's right off of Florida Highway 40, heading towards Ocala. Upon reviewing the footage used during the 1990 Daytona Speedway events, the crew realized that they didn't capture the big wreck, and also some of the wrecks were either out of frame or the car was not close enough on the racetrack. So the only solution was to recreate the big wreck at Daytona without using Daytona International Speedway. So the field crew moved north to Flagler Airport, where they recreated the Daytona International Speedway wall. Tony Scott would actually plot out the scenes using Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars and how he wanted the stunt sequence to go. Once they finalized on what they wanted to see, they would actually have cars on runway 29 here, recreating racing scenes used in the film, including one scene where Cole Trickle's car had to be towed by another race car until it ran over a stick of dynamite on the runway, and a telephone pole would come out from the bottom of the car, causing it to catapult. In order to get the up-close barrel roll scenes, the crew actually built a tractor-trailer which had a stock car body on it, and it had a rod going to the center of it, which caused it to barrel roll, and that was called the stock car gimbal, which can be seen in the behind-the-scenes footage of the movie. Daytona Memorial Hospital is only used for a brief exterior shot in the movie. All the interior hospital shots were filmed at another location. The Daytona Memorial Hospital, which was located in Ormond Beach, was actually demolished in 2017. And here's what the property looks like now. Now known as the Florida Healthcare Center, back in 1990 it was known as the University Medical Center. This location is where all the interior hospital shots were taken for the movie. This was an abandoned hospital at the time in 1990, and it still had all the medical equipment that the production company needed. All the interior hospital scenes, which included the wheelchair race, which according to a good source happened on the second floor, the x-ray scene.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
And the scene where Cole thought Claire was a hired nurse, just like the cop earlier in the movie.
Isn't this what you're really looking for?
Well, that's interesting enough, Mr. Trickle, but it's just not my specialty.
And also the scene where Rowdy asked Cole to drive his car for the upcoming Daytona 500 as a favor. This scene starts out as Cole noticing Claire getting into her BMW. Cole goes over to thank Claire for saving his life and offers to take her out to dinner, and she takes it as if Cole is bribing her to get him back on the track sooner. And then Rowdy enters the scene with the keys to the rental car. Another romantic part of the scene is it features a rare 1984 Porsche 928 Strosek in the background, which very well could have been Tom Cruise's personal Porsche. He was known to drive around Daytona in a Porsche during the filming of the movie, according to Nicole Kidman.
I remember walking in. I remember being so nervous and seeing Tom Cruise drive up in a Porsche, I think it was, and he got out of the car and walked through, and I was like, and my jaw dropped.
Unfortunately, this parking garage has been torn down since the movie's been filmed here. Mostly due to future hospital expansions, a new parking garage has been erected on the other side of the hospital property. The rental car scene starts out as Rowdy Burns drives a white Ford Taurus across the street from the Skyway Motel, which can be seen in the background. Once Cole and Rowdy agree that they need to be in separate cars, they line up at a traffic light, which was located on the corner of 701 South Atlantic Avenue and Lenox Avenue in Daytona Beach Shores. And the light turns green, both cars race north on A1A heading towards Daytona Beach. The scene in the movie cuts between the rental car race and a meeting spot at Sophie Case, which team owner played by Randy Quaid and NASCAR president by Fred Thompson. When they cut back to the rental car chase, racing on the beach in Daytona under the Daytona Beach Pier, indirectly paying homage to the early days of racing in Daytona. Then cuts back again with both cars racing west on Seabreeze Boulevard, with the Plaza Resort can be seen in the background. Then cuts back again with both cars racing west on the Main Street Bridge in Daytona, with Cole Trickle nearly avoiding a head-on collision with a semi-truck and his blue Chevy Lumina. Then the cars are shown totaled on the Valet Drive at Peck Plaza, where Sophie K's restaurant is located on the top floor. The reality of this rental car race is that if you look at the map of Daytona, you will see Cole and Rowdy were actually going away from Sophie K's. They should have been heading south on A1A instead of north. Peck Plaza has been remodeled since 1990. Sophie K's is now known as Top of Daytona Restaurant and Lounge, which was damaged by Hurricane Matthew and Irma in 2016 and 2017, and reopened in 2019. There's a scene of Claire getting out of her BMW, and the camera pans up to the right side of the Ashley Condo in Daytona Beach Shores. It then cuts to the scene of her entering her condo filled with balloons and flowers from Cole. Judging by how it was filmed in the movie, her condo was more towards the northward beach side, one of the top floors, and it looks like it was filmed inside Ashley Condo. The scene starts out with Cole, Arf, and Claire ride through the Carolina countryside on the way to Charlotte Motor Speedway, but in reality, the Jeep they were driving was headed south on US 17 right before Brandywine Road in DeLand, Florida. You can tell this because the trees on the scene on the left side of the road are still there and are kind of overhanging the road, which they are in the movie and they still are today as of 2023. Also, I got a tip from a person that used to live on Brandywine Road during the filming and confirmed this location from the movie. I can't confirm which residence exactly was used for the interior shots for the Rowdy Burns house, but I do know the house was on either North Texila Ave or University Ave in DeLand, Florida. Maybe it's best from the homeowner's point of view that I don't know exactly which house Tom Cruise used a baseball bat to hit the side of a pool table to get Rowdy's attention. It appears to be the farmhouse that was used for Rowdy Burns' house was shot around the North Carolina Lake Norman area. Same goes for the boating scene as well. The only parts of the scene that was filmed at Atlanta Motor Speedway was the opening shot B-roll of cars racing down the front stretch. The remaining scenes of the sequence were filmed in Daytona, Darlington, and Phoenix. NASCAR still races here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's a completely different track from what it was in 1990. The track was repaved and reconfigured in 1997 into a tri-oval, which made it one of the fastest tracks on the NASCAR schedule. In 2020, after an aging track surface that needed to be resurfaced, Atlanta Motor Speedway was announced it was getting reprofiled in 2021 for the 2022 season. The corner banking went from 24 degrees to 28. The racing area narrowed from 55 feet to 40 feet wide. Now it gives the track racing characteristics similar to Daytona and Talladega.
Here they come to the flag. 3 abreast. Photo finish.
I think it's Blaney. Unbelievable. 3 wide finish. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Atlanta has 2 NASCAR Cup Series races, a 500-mile spring race and a 400-mile night race. The only scene filmed at North Wilkesboro Speedway was the opening shot of the pace car leading the field into turn 1. The rest of the racing shots during the North Wilkesboro sequence was filmed at Daytona, Darlington, and Atlanta. The scene where Cole hits Russ Wheeler after the race is over was filmed in Darlington, not North Wilkesboro. North Wilkesboro received a well-deserved resurgence thanks to Dale Earnhardt Jr., Marcus Smith, and North Carolina state budget, which allotted $40 million to 3 racetracks in North Carolina: Charlotte, Rockingham, and North Wilkesboro. North Wilkesboro receiving $18 million of the $40 million, which was used to rebuild, repair, repave, and preserve the historic speedway. North Wilkesboro is back on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule after almost being off for 30 years. The track currently hosts the NASCAR All-Star race, but hopes to land a points-paying race in the coming years. The scene starts out as Cole and Claire driving up to the front door, then known as the Hilton Resort in Daytona. While they were talking, going over weekend plans, an angry cab driver honks his horn at Cole in order for him to move forward. Cole doesn't move. The cab driver bumps Cole in the rear bumper of his white Chevy Caprice. Cole, acting in revenge of the bump, he throws the car in reverse and plows right into the front of the Ford Crown Vic taxi cab. Then the cab driver races around Cole and heads north on A1A with Cole quickly on his heels. Then the scene cuts to the cars racing up Palmetto Avenue and turns left into a parking garage, and both cars go airborne and race to the top of the parking garage. During the chase, Claire gets fed up and wants out of the car.
Let me out of the car, Cole. Let me out of the car.
She opens the door and Cole quickly notices and stops the car immediately. Once the couple get out of the car, Claire lectures him about Cole being scared and hides the infantile egomaniac.
You're not on a racetrack and not in a parking lot. You are selfish, you're crazy, and you're scared.
I'm not scared.
You are scared to death. You and Rowdy, you have the same sickness. It's called denial, and it is probably going to kill you both.
As of 2023, the Hilton Resort is now known as the Shores Resort and Spa, and the parking garage is in use for Daytona Department of Children and Families, also known as Daytona DCF. This scene is a little bit difficult to match up due to a little bit of movie magic that was made in order to put this scene together. The laundromat used in the movie was actually Tom's Pizza in downtown DeLand, Florida, which according to Google Maps, there is never an open field or dirt track of any kind near this building. So what the movie production company did was use a ball field just a mile up the road to convert it into a temporary dirt track. So in reality, the movie used 2 different places, edited in the film to make you think the dirt track was right behind the laundromat. At certain times during the dirt track racing scene, you can actually see the dugouts in the background while the cars are racing on the dirt track. Tom's Pizza is still open, and the baseball field is in use today and has gone through a major renovation since the filming of the movie. This is part of the video where you have bonus locations that are not in the movie but are significant to the movie. When the Days of Thunder movie was announced, it was going to be filming in Daytona Beach. The best place at the time to host a casting call for extras was the Volusia Mall. Because like everywhere else in the 1980s and 90s, the mall was where all the young teens and college students hanged out and socialized. As usual, many extras were paid different rates depending on the scene and how much screen time you had. Also, the Volusia Mall was the first place Tom Cruise and co-star Nicole Kidman went on a date, to the former movie theater that used to be located inside the mall. After Days of Thunder ended, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman eventually got married 7 months after the filming wrapped, and eventually divorced in 2001. Volusia Mall is a shadow of its former self, with a few of its anchor stores of recent years leaving, like Sears and Macy's, also with rumors of Dillard's may be closing very soon. The hotel the film and production crew stayed at was in Daytona Marriott, which is now known as the Hilton. During the filming, Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer spent $400,000 to convert a vacant storefront at the Marriott into their own private gym with a large neon sign reading Days of Thunder. As of 2023, the hotel has gone through some ownership and name changes. It was a Marriott during filming and later became a Adams Mark, and in 2005 it became a Hilton Hotel, which included a $75 million renovation. This wasn't widely known until towards the end of the filming production, but in order for Tom Cruise to avoid paparazzi, he could not stay at a hotel with the rest of the film crew. Tom was friends with fellow actor John Travolta, which at the time owned a house in the nearby private flying community, Spruce Creek. This is where Tom stayed during the Daytona portion of filming. The rule on set, if anyone revealed where Tom was staying, they would be immediately fired on the spot. One of the most famous scenes in the movie was the explanation of drafting on Nicole Kidman's leg using Sweet and Low package, which was not filmed at her condo, but was filmed at the warehouse on 301 Division Ave in Ormond Beach. I got this info from a person who worked on the set of the movie and actually helped build the bed and bedroom set. Also, this was a temporary home of the equipment for the movie and also special effects department. Although not completely confirmed, there's a good chance this is where Hans Zimmer worked on the soundtrack of the movie. According to Fox Sports documentary, Hans was basically flown in from California and made the soundtrack while the film was still being put together, while taking orders from Tony Scott, Jerry Bruckheimer, and Don Simpson on how intense each music score should be for each scene. When the movie was almost wrapped up in May of 1990, one of Tom Cruise's favorite hobbies is skydiving. On Mother's Day 1990, Tom Cruise took his mother to skydive to land. They both jumped out of an airplane in tandem, and it was kind of a kept secret until the VHS tape arrived in the mail and they showed it to the family and surprised everybody that he got his mom to actually skydive with him out of an airplane for Mother's Day. Once filming wrapped up in May 1990, the whole cast and crew held a party at the Coliseum in Daytona Beach and parked some of the race cars on Beach Street. The film was released in theaters June 27, 1990. As of 2023, the Coliseum is now home to the Daytona Beach Arcade Museum, but unfortunately this closed in June of 2019. So this wraps up the tour of the Days of Thunder filming locations, along with a few bonus spots. I hope you enjoyed this journey as much as I did. Since 2019, this project has been a labor of love. I've dedicated countless of hours watching the movie, researching, following filming leads, and speaking with locals who witnessed the filming firsthand. The thrill of matching shots from the film to their real-world counterparts and standing in the very spots that this iconic movie was made is truly exhilarating and unforgettable. While I don't often ask this, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing this video with your friends and fellow race fans. My hope that this video will inspire more Days of Thunder filming location explorations. I aim to create a first guided roadmap for these locations, and I hope it serves as a valuable resource for fans of the film. So again, thank you. This is Kellen for K-Train Productions, and I hope to see you around the track.